Lesbian couple are demanding the same fertility rights as same-sex couples after they were refused a chance to have treatment provided by a branch of the NHS's fertility sector.
Yes, it's a landmark case. Gets underway today. The couple are Meghan and Whitney Bacon-Evans. They claim they'd have to pay up to £50,000 to qualify for a treatment that they say a heterosexual couple get for free. And they join us now. Very good morning to you.
Morning. Morning.
It's good to see you this morning. What do you want to do? What's this all about?
It's about equality, essentially, and, it all comes down to the unfair financial burden that is placed upon the LGBTQ+ community that is not placed on the heterosexual community. And we're just asking for fair treatment, really, and for us to be recognised equally as a family as anyone else.
And this boils down to effectively proving infertility, doesn't it? That a heterosexual couple would, after trying for 2 years, they would be able to get treatment on the NHS, whereas your only way to prove it is by having other treatment in the first place that you would have to pay for.
That's correct.
Exactly, yes. We found out recently that our local CCG states that we need to self-fund 12 rounds.
CCG is your local NHS commissioning group, for people who don't know the acronym.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. They state that we need to self-fund 12 rounds of IUI. Now, that alone, including the cost of sperm, can equal, anywhere from £46,000 to £50,000.
I'm going to do another acronym check for everybody out there. IUI is another form of artificial insemination. Most people have heard of IVF, but IUI is a slight. We won't go into the technicals, but it's a slightly different version.
Meghan, I think the issue that is at the heart of this is that if you're a heterosexual couple, you do, as Martin says, you have to prove your infertility. You're arguing that as a lesbian couple, and this would also presumably apply to a single woman, is that you are, I think you use the phrase de facto infertile.
Yes.
You're actually not infertile, presumably, or I don't know whether that's even an issue. But the fact is that you cannot have children unless you have a form of treatment.
Exactly, yeah. We're being treated the same as we got proved medical infertility, but no matter how much we try, we cannot create a family together, unfortunately.
It's not possible.
And so the requirement put upon us is that we do need to self-fund, and it is very expensive, and a lot of LGBTQ+ people out there simply cannot afford that. So we're basically, there's a gay tax put upon us in order to have a family.
So this is actually not about infertility at all, is it, in your case? This is about you are not infertile, but you are unable to have children unless you have this form of treatment. Now, I think people will understand that, but people might ask the question, is there an alternative way that you could have treatment through a willing donor, for instance? Now, rather than going to the NHS, what would your response to that be?
Well, unfortunately, home insemination was banned in 2005, meaning if you were to purchase sperm from a sperm bank, you're not allowed to actually send it to your home, which was what we initially wanted to do back in 2020 when we embarked on our journey. We were like, oh, home insemination sounds really nice. It's not a clinical setting. It could be a nice moment. But however, since that was taken away, we are forced into private fertility clinics and having to self-fund, up to 12 rounds of IUI before we qualify for one free round of IVF on the NHS. So, unfortunately, we always knew that we wanted to get our sperm from, a sperm bank. We wanted to be medically screened, and we feel like we are a lot more protected that way as well. And having this ban on home insemination as well can force women into, very dangerous situations at times.
Well, it's not necessarily a ban on home insemination, it's the fact that you cannot get sperm from a sperm bank shipped to the home, which therefore either you have to go to a licensed clinic if you want to use medically screened and safe sperm, or the alternative is that they are pushing vulnerable women into dangerous situations by finding, strange men online, effectively letting them come into their home and putting themselves at risk for not only them, but also their future child and their rights. Because if it isn't through a sperm bank, then this donor could potentially fight for the rights of the child in the future.
Now, I know that the issue that you have is actually regionalised depending on where you live, isn't it? So you're in a... What's the situation for where you live, and what's the best case if you'd lived elsewhere in the country?
Well, yeah, where we live, as you said, it's 12 rounds required for artificial insemination, whereas Wales and Scotland actually do give fertility treatment regardless of sexual orientation straight away. And there are some CCGs, I believe, in England that also do the same, so it's possible.
So this is postcode lottery?
It is, yeah.
Essentially, yes.
OK. And so 12 rounds is what? It's £4,000 or £5,000 a time. So you're talking somewhere in the region of £50,000 to prove that you're infertile in a position when the NHS would then help you. Although, of course, by that time, you may have got pregnant in the first place.
Exactly, yes. You know, you could get pregnant along the way. But the thing is that such an amount to required to fund in the first place that not a lot of people can get to that point where they might fund a few rounds. There's clearly an issue, but they can't yet prove it as such because they haven't done the 12 rounds, and then there's nowhere else to go. Where
are you in the legal case with this, and do you have an idea of how long it'll take? You're doing a judicial review, I would presume.
We are.
Yes.
And it's been filed today, as far as we're aware.
Mm.
Okay.
And then just tell us, you know, what are your dreams? What are your hopes? Who wants to be mum? How many children would you like to have?
Well, we both want to be mum.
Yeah, sorry. Who wants to be mum? As in, of course, you'll both be mum, of course. So I apologise for that insensitivity.
Oh,
but who wants to carry the baby?
Yeah.
Well, Meghan's going to go first. Hopefully. She's a year older, so it just makes sense. And when we purchased our sperm, we got enough to have siblings as well. So hopefully in a few years, I will have a go. So yeah, that's where we stand. And, you know, we've been together going on, 13 years now, and we actually picked out the names of our children over 10 years ago. So.
Aww. And you've been together for how long?
13 years.
Wow. Wow. Well, you know, I think it's a really fascinating case. It's sort of interesting, particularly because it is no longer about the issue of fertility. It is about the issue of who has access to the treatment that allows them to become parents. And from that point of view, it's a much broader issue, isn't it? I love the fact that you've already picked out the names of your children.
Although on that, we had picked out the name of our daughter before she was born. And then when she was born, we looked at her and said, no, that's not her name.
Oh, really?
So you never know. You never know. Hopefully you get to have that choice and you get to experience it. But
yeah.
don't put everything down on the name you've chosen. That's my tiny bit of advice to you.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Meghan and Whitney, we will follow your legal case with interest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
All the very best to you. It's good to talk to you this morning.